Good morning, Stephen. So I think first of all, a couple of introductions. I'm Oliver Hill from Hill Coaching Company. Stephen, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Stephen Balmer-Walters from Ask Stephen.
Excellent. So just to give the audience a little bit of information, you and I met probably, what did he say, would it be a couple of years ago now? Weirdly, not a surprise for my audience that it was on the golf course. A little bit more unusual for you because that's not your regular location, is it? But we started off the day in a four ball, thinking, oh, we've been put with another coach. Great, this is going to go well. And then we started actually talking to one another and realised that we're basically exactly the same in the way that we approach things. And we've been having a lot of conversations. Every month we meet and have a chat. And we thought, you know what? I think other people might be interested in the chats that we have. So here we are putting a little mini series together to see what you guys think. And we've titled the first podcast is Why We Do What We Do. So no real need to go in any particular order, but I want you to have the pressure of going first. So Stephen, why do you coach? What the hell possessed you to do that?
Great intro, Oliver. Great intro. Really like that. And yeah, I'm not a normal regular on the golf. I'll probably play 2 or 3 times a year, but it was a real pleasure meeting you on the course and getting to know you. And yet, why do I do what I do? That's a really simple question for me, really, to answer. For me, it's about being able to influence and as many people as possible. I believe I have a gift, and I believe that gift is to help people sort of unlock that emotional intelligence that we don't talk a lot about. So for me, I really do what I do, one, to help other people, and two, to really allow me to what I call manage the clock. I'm a strong believer that you can't stop the clock, you can't fast forward it, and you can't rewind it. Obviously, when we die, the clock might stop. But generally, we can't do that while we're living. Me doing what I do allows me to be able to manage that clock and have a much better quality of life. So they're kind of the two reasons, and I guess the latter one's quite a selfish one because it allows me to spend more time watching my daughter grow up. It allows me to spend time with family. It allows me to really, work on my well-being because I'm managing that clock. What about you, Oliver?
Yeah, no, that's a cool one. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, well, I mean, there are some similarities certainly in the way I started. I mean, I do admittedly enjoy the freedom it gives me. Again, my friend circle and client circle all know I play, in their words, too much golf. I don't think it's enough. But one of the things that this allows is that. But at the same time, you and I are probably very similar. We're kind of 24/7 people. So whilst we might not work long hours and long days all the time, we're certainly available early mornings, throughout the day, in the evenings, in the weekends and so forth. So it's a balance. But my main motivation for it was really my own journey. So I'm 42 now. And throughout my 20s, I must admit, I thought I was a bit special. I was one of those. And I've always been lucky enough to have a lot of self-confidence, because I understand a lot of people don't have that, and believe my own hype quite naturally. But in about, I don't know, let's say about 2013, that just started to get called into question a little bit. And without going into huge amounts of details, I came across some information that shocked me a little bit, and began to help me realize that I wasn't that great. And that whilst I might be good at what I did, I was not very good with people. In fact, I was dreadful with people. And I quickly began learning more and more stuff about this. And then suddenly it just all started to click that I was a terrible people person and a hopeless manager, but that there was loads of information out there that I wasn't aware of. And I needed to find that out. I should have been told it at school. I should have been told it throughout my career. I should have been told it in training, that had led me to be a dreadful manager and actually caused quite a lot of misery to the people that worked with me and certainly worked for me. Not all of them, because there are certain people I liked, but there were certain people I didn't like, and I hadn't understood why. And the more I grappled with this, the more I thought, I've got to do something about this. I need to go out there in the world and tell everybody all this stuff because, I was finding out in my mid-30s by luck. And yeah, here I am. I've been doing this now for I'm in my 7th year. And it's the most rewarding thing that I could possibly have done. Like I've had a few options I could have gone down. I mean, Stephen's a very, very successful career behind him. We do not need to be picking this very difficult way of earning a living sometimes, but it's much more fun for me. I know you've agreed with me on that in the past, and it's, that's what motivates me. So yeah, does that resonate with you?
No, absolutely. And one of the things I want to pick up on that is, you don't know what you don't know, Oliver. And what's quite interesting about what we do sometimes is we'll be talking to a client, and they'll look at you and go, "Why don't I know that? Why don't I know that?" And I often say, you don't know what you don't know. However, when someone sparks that conversation, all of a sudden you do remember stuff. Because I think what sometimes happens is it's not necessarily that you don't know what you don't know. Sometimes you know it, but you've forgotten about it. And, and that's another reason for doing what we do, because what we're allowing people to do is to have that spark, to start the conversation, for them to go back into their back catalogue sometimes and remember, actually, I do remember that, but somehow along the way, I've forgotten it. So that's something I want to pick up on what you've just said. And also, as we mature, you talked about the early part of your career and the type of person that you were, and that no one really took you to one side and said, let's work on the soft skills. Let's work on the skills that we know really help you when you're managing people. That didn't happen. So you found that later on. But I also think sometimes in your career, in the early stage, you're learning so much. You might not have the confidence that you have now, and that's okay, because you're learning. And as you learn and as you mature and as you develop, you start to realise, actually, there's more to this. And actually, you then start to realise, I'm only one person. There's only so much I can do on my own. It makes sense that I have these skills to be able to communicate better, to be able to sort of articulate in a better way, to be able to understand, listen more, and all these things sort of come into play. But so much of what you say, Oliver, resonates. This is why I love talking to you all the time, and that is genuine, because what happens is you even start to remind me of some of the things that I've also forgotten.
Yeah. Well, it's likewise. That's why I feel this is such a powerful combination for people to listen to, because that will resonate with so many people that they're like, oh wow, yeah, maybe if I think about it, was I different 5 years ago, 10 years ago? What was I like when I was a kid? All these sorts of things that we absolutely forget, get trained out of, pick up bad habits. It doesn't matter what it is. But the thing that I really found fascinating is I'd probably been led to believe that we can all become a well-rounded individual. So you should be good at everything if you can possibly help it. And everything you're not good at, work harder at it and become better at it. And it was a very simple tool that I came across that first awoken me to the idea that that's absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. We are unable to be a well-rounded person. And I'll fight anybody to the death who thinks differently, because what we do every single time we work on something that we're perceived to be a weakness, we're distracting ourselves from what we're actually good at. So I think what happens as you get trained and developed, you deliberately get moved away from what you're naturally best at. And then with this striving to become this well-rounded person that you won't be. But you can be a well-rounded family unit, you can be a well-rounded friend unit, well-rounded team, organisation, all these things are possible. Just stop trying to be the thing that you're not, and so many people try to be all things to all people. I definitely did. And linked to that, I kind of thought I was. So there's an element of an ego challenge in there as well. So to just know that when I say something, it immediately strikes a chord with someone that I'm speaking to, as a client, or, I do a load of social media videos, and I've had lots of people speak to me that I've never met, that have been, oh yeah, no, that really spoke to me. They don't say it like that, but they're basically alluding to the fact that video really resonated with them. And then when, like you say, when we talk, there's always something that we awaken in one another. And it's a corny old phrase, but every day is a school day. And I wouldn't say every single coaching session I have, but every new client I have is a new school day, because they're teaching me something that would be valuable for me, for other clients, for people I know, whatever it is, because everybody is different, not the same, not well-rounded, and you can't pigeonhole us into 3 types of people or 16 types of people. Just just isn't right. So yeah, that's you can see, hopefully the passion comes across. That's why we do what we do, because you just get quite animated, positive, but also frustrated at the same time with where we're at.
No, totally. And, you know, I believe that sometimes we believe our own shit too much, okay? So what actually happens is, as we go through life, we actually believe everything that we say and do. And that's just not possible because actually we don't always get everything right.
Yeah.
We will make some absolute blunders. You know, to coin a phrase, you know, we learn more from our mistakes. You know, by making mistakes, we learn more. So that obviously it tells us actually everything we say and do is not correct. So a lot of people that come to me, they you know, when they come, they believe their own shit. They actually believe it all. But after sort of talking and opening up, they realise actually, you know, I may have gone down this funnel where actually I don't actually want to be there, but I believed it. And actually sometimes we do, you know, what we do is allow people to stop, you know, take stock, think a little bit more about things, reflect, and then we move. Then we go again. And I do think, you know, the beautiful thing of you know, what we do is we allow people to just stop and think and restart. Because in my opinion, I talk about the half a decade syndrome quite a lot. And, you know, I'm a great believer that if you work in one organization for any longer than 5 years, that organization starts to impact you in the things that you do, unless you can stop and sort of restart again or take on another challenge. We're not made to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. We're actually made to try and do different things. But I want to come back to a point that you talked about, Oliver, this thing around focusing on what you do well and harnessing it. And that is such a positive point, because how often do you hear people say, go outside of your comfort zone? And when you go outside of your comfort zone, you know, you grow, you do grow. But what you've also got to focus on is what you do best and what you do well. Because actually by focusing on what you do best and what you do well, you're actually much more confident around what you're doing. And I call it the 80-20 rule sometimes, and in reverse, in that actually, you know, do what you do well 80% of the time, and then the 20% of the time you're focusing, working on things that new things, because you don't want to be stale. But, you know, there's a reason why we're good at certain things, and there's a reason why we're absolutely pants at other things. And don't get too confused, because sometimes what happens is you can actually, you know, really hurt your own confidence. Why would you do that? Why would you suddenly decide you're playing football and you're a really good midfielder, but today you're going to be a goalkeeper because you're stepping outside of your box? You're a midfielder. That's what you're good at. You're not a goalie. So why would you do that? It's okay to have an understanding of what the goalkeeper does to help your game, to help your play, but you're not suddenly going to go and put the gloves on and go in goal. Well, you might do, but tell you what, your team can lose by quite a lot of goals. So I do think you're right, Oliver, in what you say is you've got to focus on what you do well. And what we do is we help people to really focus on that and harness it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you've see, you always do this. You always get me going. You've highlighted on another thing. There is social media obviously has a lot to answer for, both good and bad. I think it gets a lot of bad press sometimes, which is a little unfair. However, I'm going to focus on the small negative side of things, because it's very easy for people to make sound bites and statements like get outside your comfort zone. Fair point, absolutely fair. But exactly like you said, if you're just chasing it the whole time, what about the stuff that you're actually doing quite well? You know, yes, fine, get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, but not every day. You know, that's going to be so draining. You know, keep stepping outside and doing something that scares you every single day. I'm not sure. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying don't necessarily believe what everybody's telling you. And then the amount of people that will sort of show you how easy it is, but without any of the plans. So they'll be in this position. So they've come from A to Z, and they're now here in this world of success. And this is how easy it is. I just had to work hard. Oh, get lost. You didn't just have to work hard. There was a whole load of actions that are in place. You know, I use a thing called the GROW model as a perfect example. A guy called Sir John Whitmore wrote about this and developed it. And it's about what will you do? So working hard isn't the solution. It's working hard on the right things, the right actions. You know, there's so much trite nonsense out there which some people will look at and think, oh, well, I just need to work harder and it will come. No, because you might be working really, really, really hard on really, really, really stupid things. And again, working with people, helping them realize, you know, I have a client, he'll know who he is when he hears this, who was very, very successful, is still very, very successful. But at one particular point, he was so successful that everybody around him believed in him, which was the worst possible thing because no one ever questioned him, and he was making stupid bad decision after stupid bad decision, and I just came in and said, why are you doing that? And he had no answer. And I often talk about one of my specialisms is asking stupid questions, because most of the time they're not that stupid because I don't get a very good answer back, and that's when we know we've hit gold, because the person's sort of like or they don't have a good answer, or we can challenge, and then it awakens something in them because they haven't looked inside themselves for that long period of time, because everybody else around them thinks they're the best thing ever, and they are really good, really successful, but they don't have anybody there who can just say, hang on a minute, and just leave it out there. You know, let them think, and also doesn't need to fill the silence, just leaves them there in their little stressy position while they realise, oh God, I've done it again. You know, then that's, I love that. There's nothing, I mean, it's uncomfortable in the moment, but, you know, at the time when you start seeing the clogs working, it's brilliant.
Do you know what, Oliver? I love it, because this is just amazing, because you're awakening things in me now as well. And, you know, one of the things you make me realise is the word challenge. And for me, another reason why I do what I do is because when I worked in the corporate world, I was the person in the room that would just throw curveballs in there all the time. Because, you know, one of the things I think we struggle with sometimes in life is, well, we've always done it that way. So why would we change it? Just because you've always done it that way doesn't mean that it's right. Also, let's really get brutally honest here, right? The CEO of most organizations does not get challenged, because the people that work within that organization want to be seen to be doing the right thing for that CEO and wants to be in agreement with the CEO. So what actually happens is they just believe everything that's been said. What we can do when we're working with CEOs, managing directors, trustees, senior leadership teams is we can be brutally honest. And that honesty and that challenge sometimes is what they need. You know, many times, you know, I have a particular client, and she will probably know who she is when I talk about what I'm going to talk about now. We have many, many conversations. And sometimes I have to say to her, stop lying to yourself. What you just said is an utter load of baloney. That is not true. And she'll stop and she'll go, God, you're right. And it's exactly what you're talking about. And again, that's the beauty of what we do. We can be as brutally honest as necessary. And I'm not saying we're rude to people. I'm not saying that, you know, we're challenging for challenging's sake. But what I am saying is we keep it real and we're honest about it. And that's how you then get someone to move forward when you're mentoring and coaching, because actually you get them again, and I re-say it again, you get them to stop and think. And the uncomfortable silence is okay, because it's okay to have that silence to stop and think and go, actually, is what I'm doing right? Have I dealt with that situation in the right way? Is that real business growth? Am I being true to myself? And I love that. And there is a moment where you called it like the stutter moment, or the I see it in the eyes often, and it's in the eyes when you know you've landed on them and they've gone, shit, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I love that, Oliver. So thank you for reminding me of that one. Yeah, no, it's a satisfying one. Now, these are fairly early episodes, and Stephen and I have agreed to aim to keep them around the 20-minute mark. So
that brings us to the conclusion of why we get into coaching. We're going to do a few more episodes. We're not going to spoil them now, partly because I have no idea what order I'm going to do them in, and I don't want to completely hamstring myself. But I hope you've enjoyed that one. This will definitely be the first, and then we're going to have multiple episodes that, depending on how much you like them, as to how many more we're going to do. But there's at least 3 or 4 coming from this day's recording. We hope you enjoy them. Give us some feedback. Let us know. Is there anything you'd like us to talk about? One of the things you'll realise, Stephen and I have no trouble talking, and we'll happily cover any topic. There's nothing that we won't do, even if it's ridiculously awkward and uncomfortable. We'll find a way. So thank you, Stephen. I'm just now going to end the chat unless you've got anything else you want to add.
No, great to chat, Oliver. And like you said, we're not scared. So,
Love that.
Throw the subject matters our way, and we're happy to talk about it.